Right when Finian stormed into the diamond box, Charlie was already leaving his house, getting into the old master's BKM car and heading for the mansion. He hadn't planned on leaving so early, but his mother-in-law, Elaine, wouldn't stop nagging him at home. One minute, she was complaining about Jacob splurging at a fancy restaurant. She griped that she could have used that $20,000 for makeup, and maybe even hit up the poker room to play a few hands with her friends. A little while later, she started in on Charlie for being a freeloader, not working, and just sitting around the house. Then she really got going, insisting she could get Charlie a job as a security guard in a parking garage. She claimed the pay was $3,000 a month and that he should take it. Charlie knew Elaine had been broke lately. Her pockets were completely empty, and she couldn't afford to go out, so she was stuck at home most of the time. And as long as she was home, she'd just mope around and complain non-stop. Her bad mood made things even more miserable for Charlie. Since Jacob and Claire weren't home yet that night, Elaine just kept nagging him. It was really getting on Charlie's nerves, so he left early. Even just sitting in the car was way better than listening to her complain back at the house. Charlie drove to the mansion and parked near the entrance. He didn't get out right away. He checked the time and saw it was still early. He figured the old master would be in there for a while, so he killed the engine and just sat in the car, listening to music to kill some time. The plan was to wait for the old master to call him when he was done with his dinner and drinks, and then he'd go pick him up. However, after waiting at the entrance of the mansion for a bit, Charlie realized something was off. There were usually a couple of security guards and 2 hosts at the entrance. The guards were there for security, and the hosts were there to greet the guests. But tonight, there was no one at the entrance of the mansion. Plus, there was a sign on the door that said they were closed for business. What's going on here? Charlie wondered. Did Orville know Jacob was coming tonight, so he just booked the whole place for him? Orville really has a knack for handling things. As Charlie was thinking this, he noticed a crowd of panicked old men gathered at the entrance of the mansion. He was totally confused. They all looked to be around Jacob's age, and every single one of them looked terrified, like something terrible had just gone down inside. Charlie quickly jumped out of his car and stopped one of the older men. "Sir, what's going on upstairs?" he asked. The man he stopped was Elijah Sanford. He was still in shock, trembling as he stammered, "There's a killing happening upstairs." When Charlie heard that, his heart stopped. A killing? What was going on? Had something really happened at the mansion? With that thought, he immediately bolted into the mansion. When Charlie walked into the mansion, he saw that the waiters and security guards were all down. Charlie stepped closer to investigate and found that they had all passed out. Each one had bruises on their neck, looking like they'd been choked out by hand. "This guy's a professional," Charlie muttered to himself, his guard instantly up. He immediately headed for the stairs. Upstairs, Orville was on the verge of death, his eyes rolling back in his head. Across the room, Finian and his son Gage exchanged a nasty grin. Gage pulled a dagger from his belt and glared at Jacob, who was shaking in the corner. He said coldly, "Since Kian took care of Orville, we'll make this Jacob guy pay for his son-in-law's actions too." Then he turned to his father, Finian. "Dad, hold this old fool down. I'm going to carve the words deadbeat father-in-law on his forehead." Finian nodded and said with a sneer, "Do it. Make sure you carve it deep, right down to the bone." Jacob was absolutely terrified. He blurted out, "I've got no problem with you guys. Why are you doing this to me?" "No problem?" Gage stomped over to Jacob and cracked him hard across the face. "You old fossil! Your son-in-law made a fool out of me, and you dare say you have no problem with me? Let me tell you, I'm not just going to carve deadbeat father-in-law on your forehead today. I'm gonna freaking kill you. Let your pathetic son-in-law come and get your corpse." Gage's blade was incredibly sharp. Jacob cried out in fear, watching the cold glint of the steel. He was helpless. All he could do was scream for Orville. "Orville! Help me, Orville!" Orville was seconds from death. He was about to pass out from the lack of oxygen when he suddenly heard Jacob's cry for help. With his last ounce of strength, he managed to say, "Mr. Jacob, I'm so sorry." "I'm the one who dragged you into this," Kian said with a grim look. "Orville, you're still hanging in there? You're tougher than I thought, old man, but I suggest you stop fighting it. If you keep this up, you'll only be in more pain." Orville's face was a dark, bruised purple, but he still managed to roar hoarsely, "Even as a ghost, I will haunt you." "Oh," Kian sneered, "is that so? Then I'll be waiting for your ghost to come find me tonight, and I'll just kill you all over again." Orville forced a bloody smile and said, "Don't you worry. Mr. Wade will avenge me today. I'll take the slow road to hell and wait for you there." "Pathetic," Kian snorted. "This Mr. Wade you keep yapping about is nothing but trash in my eyes." Then Kian added, "But you better take it slow on the highway to hell, because I'll be sending Mr. Wade down that road soon enough. Then on the highway to hell, you two can go together." "You really think so?" Orville sneered. "You have no idea how strong Mr. Wade is. Compared to him, you're nothing but trash." "You've got a death wish!" Kian's expression turned icy. "Go on. If you have something to say, go tell it to the devil." He immediately tightened his grip, squeezing the breath from Orville. The life was draining from his eyes, his light about to be extinguished for good. Gage laughed wildly at the sight. "Awesome! We kill Orville and Charlie's father-in-law tonight, and if we kill Charlie tomorrow, I'll finally get my revenge." At that moment, Finian held Jacob's head down and told Gage, "Son, hurry up and start carving. After you're done, I'll take a picture as a souvenir." "You got it!" Gage grinned, the tip of his knife already touching Jacob's forehead. By now, Orville's eyes had rolled back into his head, and he was just moments away from suffocating. Just then, the door to the private room was suddenly kicked wide open. When Jacob saw who had arrived, he broke down and cried, shouting, "Charlie, my dear son-in-law! If you'd gotten here 1 second later, you'd be collecting my body." Charlie's face was ice cold. He couldn't believe that Finian and Gage would actually dare to hire someone to kill Orville and his own father-in-law. Right then, he was so furious that he was ready to kill. Meanwhile, Finian and Gage were ecstatic when they saw him show up. After all this time, Gage had endured so much ridicule and humiliation, living a life worse than death, and it was all because of Charlie. Now he was finally going to get his revenge, and after Charlie had slapped him earlier today, Finian naturally hated his guts. He had been disappointed that he couldn't take Charlie's life today, so he never expected Charlie to walk right into his trap. Finian immediately turned to Kian and said, "Mr. Marsh, this punk is Charlie. Kill him." Gage shouted from the side, "Mr. Marsh, hurry up and kill this loser." Charlie frowned and said, "Let Orville and my old man go, and I might consider letting you live." Finian was furious and blurted out, "Charlie, what kind of garbage are you talking about? Trying to act tough right before you die? Do you really think you're something special? Don't you know Mr. Marsh could end your life in a minute?" He then added coldly, "Let me tell you, since you were bold enough to show up here today, don't even think about walking out of here alive." Charlie said with contempt, "You think a few clowns like these can kill me?" Finian stared at Charlie coldly, his voice dripping with malice. "Charlie, I know you've got some skills, but the men behind me are elite fighters, carefully trained by the Wells family. They're incredibly powerful. How could you possibly fight them? You're no match for them. Believe it or not, Mr. Marsh could knock you to the floor with a single move. Do you really think you can survive?" Gage quickly chimed in, "Dad, why are we even talking to this piece of trash? If you ask me, we should just beat him to a pulp. I want him to kneel in front of me, bowing and scraping, begging for forgiveness. And before he dies, I'm going to carve the word loser on his forehead, record it with my phone, and post the video all over the internet so everyone in Oris Hill knows what a useless nobody Charlie really is." Finian laughed and said, Perfect. We'll do exactly what you said. Seeing Kian choking the life out of Orville, Charlie said, "Let him go. If you've got a problem, it's with me." Kian scoffed, a look of pure contempt on his face. "Let him go? Kid, believe it or not, I could kill you with one hand. I'll send you to meet your maker right after him." Seeing Kian's arrogance, Charlie sneered. "That hand of yours? It's not yours anymore." With that, he lunged forward. Kian was caught off guard by Charlie's charge. Keeping his grip on Orville with his right hand, he swung his left fist viciously at Charlie. Kian was brimming with confidence. He thought he was untouchable, a league above everyone else. How could some nobody be a threat? Even Orville, a guy who'd been fighting his whole lifetime, was taken down with just one hand, right? But what he didn't see coming was Charlie sidestepping the punch in a blur of motion. Before Kian could react, Charlie grabbed his attacking arm and slammed a fist into his shoulder. The force of the punch was unbelievable. There was a sickening crack. Kian's entire left shoulder was shattered into splinters. The bones were pulverized inside his own muscle, sending waves of agony through him, like 1,000 sharp needles stabbing his nerves. Kian's face twisted in pain, all the strength draining from his body in an instant. His right hand went limp, and Orville crumpled to the floor, completely unresponsive. Charlie glanced down and saw the faintest trace of a breath. Orville wasn't dead. Charlie felt a wave of relief. Since Orville was still hanging on, even by a thread, Charlie didn't rush to help him just yet. Instead, he turned his cold gaze to the rest of the group. "None of you is leaving here today." Kian's left shoulder was shattered. His left arm, held on by just a layer of skin and muscle, was completely useless, just dangling at his side. The look on his face was pure horror. He was an elite Special Forces operator, incredibly strong. He'd never met his match in the entire service. If it wasn't for the insane amount of money the Wells family offered, a man with his skill and pride would never have stooped to being someone's bodyguard and hired muscle. Kian had never known defeat, but now, in a single clash with Charlie, his left arm was completely ruined. This Charlie guy's strength? It was unreal. Charlie looked at Kian's terrified expression and sneered. "What's the matter? Scared now?" Kian, looking terrified, took a step back instinctively. "Who are you? How can you be this strong?" Charlie replied calmly, "Who am I? I'm the one person you should have never, ever messed with." Kian gritted his teeth and yelled to the 4 men with him, "Ugh! All of you, together! Kill him!" The other 4 immediately rushed forward, and Kian joined them, his useless arm flapping at his side. The 5 of them quickly surrounded Charlie, their faces filled with murderous intent, but their expressions were grim. Charlie had moved so fast that even Kian, their leader, couldn't defend himself. It was obvious this guy was on a completely different level than any of them. Their only chance was to attack him all at once and hope to overwhelm him. Charlie just smiled coldly. "Just a bunch of chickens and a dog," he said dismissively. The next moment, Charlie was a blur, real ant. Meanwhile, Finian and his son, who had been so arrogant just moments before, could only stare in shock at the scene unfolding. They never would have dreamed that Kian would be beaten so badly, taken down in just a few moves right in front of them. It wasn't just him either. His 4 men were also on the ground, defeated and gasping for air. Charlie stepped hard on Kian's chest, and Kian felt several of his ribs crack. He looked down at the terrified Kian, who was coughing up blood in agony. Charlie asked coldly, "So, tell me, who's the real ant now?" Kian was a wreck. His body screamed in agony, and every last ounce of his courage and strength had vanished. He stared at Charlie, his eyes filled with despair, thinking about all the people he had killed. Would he end up just like them today? Crushed by a master so powerful he couldn't even fight back? The thought terrified Kian. He was a strong man, but that didn't mean he wasn't afraid to die. Quite the opposite. The more he killed, the more he cherished his own life. He wanted to live in comfort and luxury. That's why he'd joined up with the Wells family, doing their dirty work. He took out their enemies, and in return, they paid him a fortune. After so many good years, life felt too sweet to let go. The idea of dying now was something he just couldn't accept. So he cried and pleaded with Charlie.
Mr. Wade, I had no idea who you were. I didn't know you were this powerful.
I'm just a guy doing a job for the Wells family, following their orders. Please, just for that, spare my life. Charlie's voice was ice cold. The fact that you work for the Wells family makes you even more despicable. With that, Charlie stomped on Kian's right shoulder, ruining his entire arm. Kian wailed in pain, but Charlie just looked at him with disgust. Other people have a real problem with me. They come to kill me, and I can understand that. But I have no beef with you. You came to kill me for money. Don't you see how that makes you even worse than my actual enemies?
Mr. Wade, I'm sorry,
Kian choked out. He never imagined that trying to defend himself would only make Charlie angrier. Now his shoulders were shattered. Charlie turned away from him then, his gaze falling on the terrified Finian Harrison and his son. He spoke coldly. You two are pretty gutsy, aren't you? You actually dared to go after my father-in-law? The arrogant pair, Finian and his son, were already scared stupid. After all, the 5 guys Charlie had just taken down were young, but they were also Bradley's bodyguards, and they were supposed to be tough. But they never imagined this group would be such pushovers. They couldn't even last one move against Charlie. The thought made Gage panic. He pressed the dagger tightly against Jacob's neck and yelled in a trembling voice, "Charlie, stop, or else I'll kill your old man." Jacob was so scared that he immediately screamed at Charlie, "Charlie, save me, Charlie!" Just then, Finian suddenly raised his arm and slapped Gage hard across the face. Before Gage could even process what happened, he stared, stunned, and asked, "Dad, why did you hit me?" Finian shouted angrily, "You bastard! How dare you hold a knife to Mr. Wade's father-in-law's neck? Do you have a death wish? Get down on your knees for Mr. Wade right now." After yelling at his son, Finian turned around, dropped to his knees with a thud, and cried out, "Mr. Wade, I was manipulated by the Wells family. They told me to kill Orville and promised to help me take his place. They also said they would kill you to get revenge for their son. Please, I was confused for a moment. Forgive me. Gage was just an impulsive kid, but Finian Harrison was not. He knew perfectly well that Charlie had single-handedly turned the whole situation around. If he kept fighting Charlie now, it would be suicide. Of course, he desperately wanted to take Orville's place, but he knew you had to be alive to enjoy that kind of power. Therefore, at this moment, the Wells family, the Orris Hill First family, and the title of the city's kingpin meant nothing to him. He just wanted to survive, to get out of this alive. Otherwise, even if Charlie showed mercy and let him live, he'd probably end up just like Kian. Kian was completely helpless now. He wouldn't even be able to take care of himself. Both of his shoulders were shattered, the muscle and tissue pulverized. The second he got to a hospital, they'd have to amputate both his arms. At that moment, Gage finally understood. It was pointless to try and act tough in front of Charlie. A guy like Kian could beat up Orville's men and cut them down like they were nothing. But against Charlie, he didn't stand a chance. Gage realized that even if he put a knife to Jacob's throat, Charlie could probably kill him and still save Jacob. So, he knew it was time to quit. With that thought, he dropped to his knees with a thud, crying, "Mr. Wade, I was wrong. Please forgive me. My dad and I only came here today because Orville forced us to. Otherwise, you could give me all the courage in the world and I still wouldn't dare to touch your people." After he finished speaking, he stayed on the ground, groveling and begging for forgiveness, crying his eyes out as he completely broke down. Charlie sneered. "Looks like you two have a strong will to live." Finian quickly added, "Mr. Wade, we've seen the error of our ways." Charlie snorted. "Both of you, kneel. If you so much as twitch, I'll rip your heads off." The father and son trembled, but they knelt on the ground without daring to move. Charlie walked over to Orville's side and checked his pulse. He'd noticed earlier that he was still breathing, but he'd clearly been deprived of oxygen for too long. His body was seriously damaged and incredibly weak. It was as if he'd suffered a severe brain injury. He wasn't dead, but he might not wake up for 3 to 5 years, maybe not even in his lifetime. Charlie couldn't stand the thought of him becoming like that. After all, in Charlie's eyes, Orville was a tough, loyal guy. People like that are rare, and he couldn't just stand by and watch him become completely helpless. So, Charlie used his body to block everyone's view. From an angle no one could see, he took a rejuvenation pill from his pocket and placed it directly into Orville's mouth. Because it was a miracle elixir made from a lost apothecary formula, the pill dissolved on the tongue and was incredibly potent. The medicine quickly turned into a warm current that flowed into Orville's body. Soon, Orville quietly woke up, pulling back from the brink of death. Orville had been in a deep coma, but now he was suddenly awake. He opened his eyes, saw Charlie right in front of him, and was struck speechless with surprise. He knew he had been dying just moments ago, but he had no idea why he was suddenly awake. He couldn't help but exclaim, "What's going on? Am I not dead?" Charlie nodded and said, You can't die as long as I'm here." Orville was overcome with gratitude and blurted out, "Mr. Wade, thank you for saving my life." Then he added guiltily, "I'm so sorry. I let them hurt your father-in-law." Charlie waved his hand. "It's not your fault. Besides, my father-in-law isn't hurt." Orville immediately breathed a sigh of relief. The next moment, he felt a strong current of heat flowing through him, spreading throughout his entire body. This warmth didn't just heal his injuries, it also made him feel stronger and healthier than ever. He felt as if his body had become more energetic, even younger than before. He'd been dealing with some age-related blurry vision, but as he looked at Charlie, his sight became perfectly clear. He stared at Charlie, dumbfounded and trembling with excitement. In a shaky voice, he asked, "Mr. Wade, what is this feeling in my body? Could it be rejuvenation?"